Hi, and welcome back to another video in the Interactive Shorts video series designed to emphasize experiential, immersive, and interactive approaches that you can employ in your online DE Zoom classes. So today we're talking about using quizzes and trivia games in your DE class. I think what's nice about quizzes and trivia games is that they allow you to create a sense of investment by the student in that activity. It also allows them to learn content in a way that's fun and maybe a little less boring than students working through, like if you have vocabulary words, working through cards or something like that. The sense of competition and maybe even a prize that you could offer for a quiz or trivia game, I think could be something to give students that investment to not only learn the material or content in your class, but to maybe turn on their cameras and actually participate. One of the things we'll talk about is how you can use these as a way of getting students to turn on their video and their audio and to really better immerse themselves in your class, because we all know that during this time of COVID and working on Zoom, that some students maybe don't log on to your class if it is an optional class meeting, and if they do, they might just have their static picture displayed such that they're not actually engaging or being interactive or being immersed in your class. So let's jump in right now and talk about some approaches to doing online real-time quizzes and trivia games to make your class more interactive. All right, so we'll now look online at some options for you in terms of creating quizzes or polls or any kind of interactive board that students can interact with. And the real intention here, I think, is to do live versions of these. One option, of course, is you could go to any of your Canvas classes and create a poll. To do that, you would do that under the quizzes option. And you would hit New Quiz at the top right corner. And then you just want to make sure under quiz type that you choose either, you could do a graded or ungraded. I think typically it would be an ungraded survey. And then you would just create questions as you do normally. So the thing to remember about this is not going to be very visually stunning, as I'll show you in a second. Anytime you use Canvas for a quiz, you're not going to have the bells and whistles that we're going to see with the other programs online that are more geared at interactive, visually stunning quizzes or trivia games. So I think personally I would use this in the asynchronous format. When you want to ask students questions about comprehension, when you're testing entrance or exit skills in your class, this is your go-to device, is to use quizzes within Canvas. Now at any time, of course, you can go to Canvas Commons by clicking here on your left tabs. And what you could do is you could type like trivia game or just type the word trivia. So in this case, 183 results. They are always labeled by grade level. These, just looking at them very quickly, seem to be more for K-12 level, which you could always adapt something. We could just look at one of these, PE and trivia. And if we want to use that, we could preview it right here and we could import it into our class. And if I go back to my class, this is actually a different quiz that I imported. You'll see it then will appear under the Quizzes tab, and it typically will be, I think, the last of the items that you have on the list as it was just imported. Click on that, and then you can preview any of the questions. And they're laid out like this. So you hit Next, and you just get these questions. You could use this in a class online synchronously, over Zoom. I just don't think it looks very visually stunning to do that. So my recommendation is to use this for your asynchronous quizzes or any polls that you're doing with your class. Well, now look at some different options. And the first of these, I would say, is to go and look specifically for PowerPoint trivia templates or PowerPoint quiz templates. So an example, if I type the word or the phrase PowerPoint trivia template, all of these come up, and in some cases you can preview them by seeing the thumbnail image, and you can click on that. I happen to click on these here, and it gave a series of different options for templates, and a lot of these look pretty good, so they're visually interesting. Some of this could take some time, so if you want to do anything like this with a picture quiz for your class, and there's also some stock images available within PowerPoint, at least the new version if you have it. So I could look at any of these and decide which, if any of these I want to use, and then edit them as I like. And so I'll show you one of these. it actually downloaded, looks like, every single one of those. So I could go in and look at the ones I want and customize them. Now, the only thing I'm noticing about this, if you've seen some of these really high-tech PowerPoint trivia games that people set up, in some cases they have templates, but they also have like a lot of work they've done inside in terms of sound and some of the animations. If you're really skilled at PowerPoint, of course, you can go to your animations tab and you can really work on creating pathways and movement and different kinds of animations. You can also do sort of logic operations, either or, things of that nature. So if you click on something, something will happen. So just to do that as a reminder maybe is to say that it will take some time to do it. Now, very simply, you would just type the text in here and edit whatever these are. And then you would play the slideshow. But again, at this point, you're not going to have anything super interactive. If you click it, you could create an animation to show that as the right or the wrong answer. But you have to do a lot of that essentially on your own. So that's one option, again, is to Google for a very specific type of templates. Now, I could also type PowerPoint Jeopardy template. I know that one is pretty popular, and I'm just seeing here if there are any good ones here. Okay, let's check this out and see. I've noticed that the phrase, when I was Googling that, the phrase Jeopardy PowerPoint template plus scoring came up. So I think that's one issue, again, is what we might want to look for is a good template that's going to have that scoring option. So let's just see what this one gives us here. It could just be, that's a pretty flashy title. Edit in Google Slides, edit in PowerPoint, okay. So let's check this out and see what happens. Okay, so yeah, we do have to type in. And so I don't think this is going to work in the sense that if you click this, it will not go, say, to this slide. So it has essentially the font, the look, the color scheme of Jeopardy, so it's not going to do all that like interactive stuff, have chime sounds and so forth. If you want to do that, you either, I think, have to do one of two things: is to look for a template that does that, or to go in and add a lot of those characteristics within your slideshow. And again, in this overview today, I'm just trying to give you a sense of what's out there, and probably on your own you could dive in a little more and look at what options are out there in terms of other types of online quizzes or trivia sets that you might find. So there are three I'll talk about today that are app-based. And if you want to find others, by the way, what I would say is just go back to a Google search and type trivia games online or something like that will pop up. And then you could click on all the various games that are out there. Some of these actually are pay games, so you do have to be careful just to make sure that you're not stuck paying for something. Or sometimes you find something that looks really great, but you discover actually that it's very limited. It's a demo version because they want you to buy the full version. So let's look at three games that I've found that I think could be valuable for you. The first one is called Quiz, with a lot of Z's. Just go to quizizz.com. It's actually, I don't think that easy to remember. But what they have here are options for creating either quizzes or lessons. So I might choose a quiz in this case. And I guess I could, it looks like it's probably a K-12 app, and a few of these are. And so I could choose like a poll if I wanted. And let's just try this out real quick. Just going to put in some quick text here and let me save it. Okay. And on a lot of these, you can add images for your quiz. So it's kind of nice just if you'd like to do that. And I'm just going to hit publish because I'm just trying to look at that one. Just make this private because this is not going to be anything that anyone would want to use by any means. And let's see if I click on it. Okay, so this looks actually pretty good. So the idea is, you'd have your actual question here and then your answers. You could turn the music on or off, and then you would choose that option. And so what's going to happen in most of these quiz or online polls, they can probably join online, but they can also join using their phone. So if you want the phone option, there might be a QR code that students can scan, or there'll be a join link that they type into their phone and they could join that way. So I think that one visually looks pretty good. Now, my only complaint about some of these games, and it's just me, we're all different in terms of our style. Visually, I find that these sort of splash screens where they do countdowns and there's music going and there's flashing going on, I personally find that a little distracting, but that's just my personal preference. So quiz, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but QUIZIZZ.com is sort of your first option that you can look at. I think everyone's very familiar with Kahoot. Kahoot, I know, has been used a lot in K-12. We can also use it in college teaching. So go to KAHOOT.com, Kahoot.com, and then you could explore content if you want. Probably you'd want to choose something like a quiz or a trivia game, and so we could just click on this geometry quiz and see what happens here. And we would hit play as guest. You can preview the questions there. And you could do team mode, which is using shared devices, or player versus player. So we'll go with classic. And we're loading the game pin here. And so to test this, we'll just go to our phone. And this will show you that it's pretty quick to log in and do this. So we'll just go to Kahoot, Kahoot. It's in my browser already. And I have to agree to a few things here. And actually, I hit Kahoot.com, so I need to go to Kahoot.it. And then that will take us to the actual game site and not the business site. So all I have to do is then enter the game pin where it asks. So 5436700 and hit enter. And then I could hit my nickname. Okay, go. And then it's asking me if I want to see my nickname on the screen. Or do I see the nickname on the screen? It just says I'm in. Okay. So now we'll hit start and let's see what happens. Geometry characteristics of similar solids. And you can see it's synced really well. So this is loading and then the quiz starts here. Looking for the answer here. Oh, I have to hit it on here. So again, I'm going to either choose that answer or the other one. And it tells me if I got it correct. And then what's cool about Kahoot is it's kind of the gamification model. So it's building in scores. So if you're playing as a class, the nice thing about it is it's scoring everything for you. And then because it's gamified, it's getting your students involved in the action of the game. So I think that itself makes it a little bit better than, say, doing a PowerPoint template, which may not have the auto scoring. It's certainly not going to have a leaderboard or anything of that nature. So Kahoot, I think, is still probably one of the better ones out there. The system's great, easy to use on your mobile media device. So Kahoot, I think, is really a go-to if you want something like this, which is an online poll or quiz that has a little bit action to it, has scoring and a leaderboard. So the gamification of Kahoot, I think, makes it stand out for me above the others. Now, one other one we'll look at is called CrowdPurr. So go to CROWDPURR.com. And it's the same thing. It's a trivia game. It's actually pretty full featured, and you can play it for free. So just to show you what it looks like, you have options to pre-build quizzes or polls based on content or questions out there. You can do it all from scratch, and it's pretty sophisticated in terms of the editing abilities. It's a little higher end, I think, than even Kahoot. You have all these settings that you can apply to your quizzes. You can decide on things like a crowd. You can decide on things like a countdown timer, if you want it or not. You can schedule a start time. You can decide on the experience playback mode and viewer settings. It has information about crowd activity, crowd leads, live streaming. So if you're on Twitch, YouTube, or Zoom, you can actually choose one of those services. So Zoom, I think, could be pretty interesting here. And it says here, embedding a live Zoom meeting requires premium Zoom subscription, and connecting Zoom to either YouTube or Twitch. So that sounds like it could be a little involved if you don't have a YouTube account or a Twitch account. And so that's an option, but you could always just do a screen share and show the screen version of this as you're playing live with your students, so you don't have to do that. But it's pretty cool just because if you're doing this for a live streaming channel, it really allows you a lot of customization in terms of the layout, the template that you're using, and so forth. You can do prizes and have lotteries if you want, and go back to your main question. You can also upload media. So when you choose to upload media, they give you a lot of stock images, which are nice. So you can include stock images. Again, you just go in here, you type in whatever information you want, and then you would just type in rather the quiz question, and then you would type the answers here and so forth. You can choose the color of the answer, so there's a lot of customization you can do. And it says here upgrade to set custom colors. So they are offering some features with the pro version. So, again, but it's probably going to be good if you just use the basic version that's free. You can choose the type of question, yes or no, like or dislike. So you can do ratings, like if you wanted your students to vote on a possible reading or a movie to watch in your class on Zoom, you could have that option there using the type of question choice. And then here we can actually preview what it looks like. So a couple of options. So when students join, they can either scan the QR code. And most phones now, in the old days, you had to have a QR app. Now it's always built into your photo app. So just go to your photo app, you simply scan, and then it'll say open crowd.live in Safari. Click on that. It'll go to that website. So very easy for your students to join using the QR code. And then just like Kahoot, it's asking me for my nickname. I'll hit Scott again. I'll hit go. And it says signing me in. Game will begin shortly. And I have to accept some cookies. So to start your online poll, you have to first start the countdown here. Once you click that, go to projector view. It should start the quiz. And I wanted to join here. And so then just like we saw before, the game will show up on the app, on the phone for your students, and then it also is available here online. So I think what's cool about this, as well as like Kahoot, it has a very engaging visual look to it, so that might be an advantage of using this. This is a little more involved and full-featured just from an initial look than Kahoot is. So you can just kind of keep in mind what type of interface that you want in terms of offering trivia or quiz games for your students. Again, if there's other ones out there that you'd like to try out, you can just type trivia games online, or online polling is another one we could do. There are quite a few options there. SurveyMonkey is probably not the best one to use. Again, visually is not going to be what we really want for something like this. Something like Poll Everywhere is pretty good. And Poll Everywhere allows you a lot of options in terms of doing multiple choice questions, Q&A, clickable images, surveys, open-ended, competition, and more. So, we might look at something like competition as an option. And this is what it would look like. And so if we play it, and you're not seeing this at the top just because of my screen capture on the screen, but it's nice because it says to go to pollev.com and type in the code, and then you can respond there. So click the mouse, and those are my options. And then it will show you the leaderboard. It will add up the scores and so forth. So I like the fact that this also has a leaderboard built in, which is more of that gamification type of experience. And again, I can just click on activity and decide on what I want here. So word cloud could be cool as well, because word clouds allow you to gather information from your students in a class and allow for really crowdsourcing of information and content. So again, if I went to this address here, I could join and I can type in my responses. So Poll Everywhere, I think, is another great option there. It's a little more professional looking. I think it has that sort of feel like it's more corporate and less sort of K-12, and nothing against something looking K-12, but I think sometimes Kahoot and some of the other polls out there have a lot of the bells and whistles, literally and figuratively, in terms of sounds and splashy screens. For my personal preference, the aesthetic I would look at would be more something like this, that's cleaner, fresh, and not as crazy in terms of some of those flashing graphics and sounds. But totally up to you. So you have a lot of options out there. I would say use these in your classes because they will allow you to create opportunities for crowdsourcing of content information. They're fun, they're engaging, they're interactive, and they allow your students to do something different while they're on the Zoom experience that all of us are working with here under COVID-19 teaching here at LTCC. So that will be it today for this focus on quizzes and trivia, another video in the Interactive Shorts video series. And I'll be back with additional features in this series shortly.